Hi guys, here's your flip lesson for today, your first one for the year. Okay, so you should be on day 9, equivalent rational expressions and undefined is how it's labeled. So this is standard 1.4. So let's talk a little bit about a rational expression. Like, what exactly is a rational expression? It is a fraction that contains a polynomial in the numerator and denominator. A rational expression requires the domain to be restricted, which means like no value of the variable that can make a denominator 0 is allowed. That's what a restriction is. So what makes a rational expression undefined? What makes a rational expression undefined? So let me say this to you. If I have this example, oh wait a minute, let's change this. I don't want 2 6s. Let's make this. Let's make this a 2, x minus 2. All right, so if that is 6 over x minus 2, a rational expression because it has a polynomial in the numerator or denominator here, which in this case is in the denominator, I cannot divide by 0. Bottom line, you cannot divide by 0, right? So I have to figure out what x value will make that 0. What x will make 0? And you should say when x is equal to 2. When x is equal to 2, it would make the denominator equal 0, and that is the undefined value. It means that x cannot be 2 because at 2 it's undefined. There's no definitive output for it. Okay, so that's what makes it undefined. All right, so real quick, exercise 1. The following are examples of the rational expressions. Determine the value or values of the variable that need to be excluded to prevent division by 0. So that says value or values. So you could have more than one answer. Okay, so you don't, whenever I ask you undefined, you don't look at the numerator. I just want to know the denominator. Okay, now here's why again. I can, you can do it in your calculator and check if you want. I can have a 0 on the numerator over here to the side I'm at right now. If I do 0 divided by 4, I just get 0. Okay? Soon as I have a 0 on the denominator, and you do 4 divided by 0 in your calculator, it becomes an error. Okay? That's your undefined. So I don't care about the numerator, just the denominator. So I look, when I ask you what is going to be excluded in the answers, look at the denominator. Now, I see for this first one, 47 is my denominator. So I have no variables that will make that undefined. So there is no values. There's no variables in denominator, which means there are no values which make undefined. So basically there's got to be a variable in the denominator to make it undefined. Okay, so then I look at the next one for B and I go, all right, 6a minus 1 minus 3a. I'm going to set it equal to 0 and figure out what a value will make it equal 0. That's what I'm trying to do. What a value will make it equal 0. So I set it equal to 0 and I solve. I'm going to distribute and I get 6a minus 6. I'm going to combine like terms and I get 3a, and I'm going to bring that 6 to the other side and I'm going to divide by 3. And I have 2. So the following, we're going to determine, remember, the values that need to be excluded to prevent division by 0. So I'm going to say a cannot be 2. If I put 2 in for that denominator, it makes the denominator 0. And again, you can't divide by 0. Okay? So you're going to do this. I better rewrite it so that you guys can keep it separate. For C, I'm going to look at the denominator. I'm going to set it equal to 0, and I'm going to solve. And yes, you have to factor there. And for D, I'm going to set it equal to 0 in the denominator. And I'm going to solve, okay? That's what you're going to do tonight when we're done with this video. Or you can stop, hit pause, and do it right now. I'm going to keep moving. Okay. So it says, when can we write equivalent rational expressions by reducing expressions in lowest terms? This means that you can actually reduce by factoring. So that's going to be the next piece here. So we can write equivalent rational expressions by reducing, by factoring. So to do this, you're going to factor numerator. You're going to factor denominator and cancel like binomials or slash polynomials. Right? And that's how you can actually write when they say something about equivalent rational expressions. So this is basically reducing by factoring, is what I would call it. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to, and I'm kind of whipping through this, sorry guys, but I know that I don't want this to be real long, is that we're going to go right to exercise 2 here. I'm going to skip this part that I was going to write. We're going to go to exercise 2. We're going to find an equivalent rational expression in lowest terms and identify the values of the variable that must be excluded to prevent division by 0. All right, so right now, for A, it's already factored. Okay? Now, they want the values of the variables that must be excluded to prevent division by 0. So you're first going to come off to the side, and you're going to take that denominator, and you're going to set it equal to 0, and you're going to, there's 2 x's, so you're going to set both of them equal to 0, and you're going to solve. So x cannot equal -1, and x cannot equal -2. Okay? And those are the values that should be excluded as the answers. Okay? Now, second thing, we're going to find equivalent rational expressions. Now, remember what I wrote up here. Factor numerator, factor denominator, cancel like binomials or polynomials. That's already factored. So I see an x plus 1 and an x plus 1, and I'm going to cancel them out, and then I'm just going to rewrite it. And that's called an equivalent expression, where x cannot equal -1 or -2. And that's because the original problem, remember before we canceled out, had -1 and -2 in the denominator. Okay, so try B. Now this one's not factored. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to factor. And I gotta go right to my factoring rules. What multiplies to be -6 that adds to be -1. And you're going to do x minus 3 and x plus 2. And then you're going to look for the denominator. You're going to look to see it's a binomial. So I'm going to GCF, and I see a 5x I can take out of both. Okay. And then before I cancel stuff out, remember I got to find the values that will make the denominator equal 0. So I'm going to come off to the side here, and I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to take my denominator. I'm going to set it equal to 0, and they're already factored out, separated, so I'm going to solve for each x value that I have factored. So x cannot equal -2 here, and when I divide by 5, x cannot equal 0, because 0 divided by 5 is 0. So if 0 or -2 were part of the solutions in the original problem, it would make the denominator 0, and that's a no-no. Okay, so that's That's that exclusion part, right? Remember this directions here. Okay. I'm also going to make an equivalent rational expression. So then I come back up to where it's factored, and I cancel them out. Cancel like binomials or polynomials out. So those are canceled. What I have left is x minus 3 all over 5x, where x cannot equal 0 or negative 2. And that is my final answer. So I reduced it, basically, and I found what would make the denominator equal 0. Oopsie, jumping ahead. Okay, now, back page. You have 4 homework, 4 questions. Factor numerators, factor denominators, cancel. Okay? Factor numerators, factor denominators, and cancel. You have to do your factoring methods again. I will give you a couple of clues here. I will tell you, ooh, I have a little star on the back of my paper. This E is missing a 7. It got wiped out. So there's a 27 there. So a couple of clues. That's why I was looking at it. These, for E and F, the numerators, those are cubes. So you have to factor using cubes. If I look at D, the denominator, I'm going to give you another other clue. This is like a grouping with 2 variables. Okay, so pull out your grouping, pull out your cube notes if you forgot. Factor, 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 and cancel. Even if you can't do a lot of canceling, like if you can't cancel anything on the numerator and denominator, at least factor them out. Okay? You should be able to cancel something from every problem, but I know that there might be some like a catch here or there. So do the best you can. I want to see the back page tomorrow when you walk in. I want to see them done, and I want to see the front page, those 2 questions on the front. Okay? Have a good night. Sorry it was so rushed. I'm trying to jam it in before I take kids to practice. So, all right. Have a good night. Talk to you later.